Here we are then, the Australian flag flying. A very nice day indeed here for some motorcycle racing. The opening round of the 2015 World Superbike Championship from Phillip Island. The 4.45 kilometre circuit with sea views overlooking the Southern Ocean. As you look over towards Stoner Corner and look at some of the views that you can see here. A few clouds in the sky, but still quite warm. 31 degrees in the air. Track temperature 38. Perhaps not quite as warm as we were expecting. There were suggestions that we might get temperatures of up to 36, 37 degrees here today, and that might be a relief to one or two team managers as we get ready for Superbike Race 2. Decent sized crowd through the gates here today, of course, many coming to watch Troy Bayliss, who stepped out of retirement to replace Giuliano. But after race 1, this is how it went. Jonathan Rea, the winner, 300ths of a second ahead of Leon Haslam. Chaz Davies was third, ahead of Jordy Torres on his debut in fourth. Van der Mark fifth, newcomer to the Superbike Championship. Then Sykes, Gintoli, Tyrrell, Alex Lowe's and Leon Camier. Further back was Biocco, good result for him, ahead of Mercado, Bayliss, Mecha, Barrier, Ramos. Then it was de Pounier finishing in 17th. I'm not sure what happened to Randy later on in that race. Larry Pegram then 18th, 19th for Barragan, Imre Toth in 20th. Nicolo Canepa and Ponson retiring, and the news is on Nicolo Canepa that he sprained that left ankle, and that's the gear change ankle. They were worried that it might be a suspected fracture. Either way, I don't think he's fit to race this one, so we'll probably sit out, and he basically stands on the sidelines along with, of course, the injured Davide Giuliano, David Salom and Gabor Rismaier. So 4 riders in all out of this second race. Pit lane is not going to open for another 5 minutes or so, but this man here, Jonathan Rea, looking focused once more. Thumbs up from him. Of course, he got his first ever World Superbike win at Phillip Island earlier on, his first for Kawasaki as well. Can he end the day with 50 points in the bag? That's certainly what he's aiming for. As we look at 1 or 2 replays of Jonathan from earlier on, a fantastic performance from him, and he shut the door on Leon many times. And well, we heard Greg mentioning earlier on that he's had a word with 1 or 2 people. He's caught up with Jonathan sort of after the interview, and Jonathan has suggested that he thinks the Aprilias will be even stronger in the second part of this race, and certainly Leon Haslam will be looking to get his first win since 2010 in the bag here. What about this man though, Chaz Davies? Well, the Ducatis are expected to be competitive this year, but maybe not Chaz at Phillip Island. It's not a circuit that he's notoriously gone that well at, but here this weekend he's been very competitive. He was strong yesterday, he's strong again today, and of course he managed to finish in 3rd place earlier on. So good effort from Chaz on the Aruba.it Ducati. He is of course at the moment looking across garage wise and standing next door to Troy Bayliss, 3 times champion, so he'll be happy with his results so far. But as you heard him say to Greg in the post-race interviews, his aim is to try and go one better and fight for that victory in this second race. We'll get a look now in the Aprilia garage. There's a very relaxed and fit looking Leon Haslam. What an eventful race 1 that was for the Aprilia man. Number 91, of course, the traditional number for Leon, the rider who was the runner-up in the World Superbike Championship back in 2010. His debut in World Superbike way back at Brands Hatch in 2003. That's 12 years ago. Got his first win here on the 28th of February 2010. His last win in the same year, but at Kyalami in South Africa. It's a huge opportunity for Leon at this stage of his career. The 31-year-old being asked to prove what he's worth here. And his record at Phillip Island now stands at 15 races, 5 podiums and 1 win. So he's looking to try and beat that now. Fans waiting to see what happens here in race 2. And what about the riders that didn't finish on the podium, and how will they fare? Well, Jordy Torres here, number 81, was quick in testing throughout the week. Of course, he's actually been on the podium here in GPs as well. He finished 3rd in 2013, and there you go. That's just a sort of little taster as to what you can expect from Jordy Torres this year. He is quite the character, and he's had people in fits of laughter throughout 2015. as we see a few replays. He's had a couple of crashes over at turn 11 so far this weekend, and he pretty much ripped all of the skin off one of his fingers. There he is again. It's a laugh a minute with Jordy in that garage, I can assure you. So it was 4th place for Jordy, so 13 points in the bag already for the Catalan. He moves over from the Moto2. Of course, this will be brand new for Jordy. He's used to just competing in 1 race per weekend. And this weekend, of course, he gets 2 cracks at the whip. I can confirm that my partner in crime, Gregory Haynes, has finally made it back into the commentary box as we see a few people jet skiing. You could probably do with one of those, Greg, to get yourself over into Parc Ferme to get some interviews done. There's Michael van der Mark, who finished in 5th place in race 1. Very impressive for the reigning World Supersport champion, 11 points to his name. I wonder whether he and Tom Sykes have shared any words just yet. Either way, keep an eye on Michael. As mentioned earlier, the first Dutchman to be a permanent rider in this championship since 1993, a full 22 years ago. And he'll be delighted with those 11 points, finishing, of course, ahead of Tom Sykes and Sylvain Guintoli. Looking calm as ever, and preparing himself in the Pata Honda garages. He was, of course, a member of that team last year, but in World Supersport. Next up in the garages, bike number 66. That there is, of course, Tom Sykes, the 2013 World Superbike champion, and so far it will have been a weekend of frustration for Tom. Yesterday in the red flag Superpole, he wasn't able to quite put in his best lap, so he qualified in 8th place overall, and then in the race there he got pushed wide and was unable to really make any more headway, although he did recover to 6th. How important will those 10 points be? You've seen Tom Sykes involved in some nail-biting finishes to championships over the last few years. Of course, he lost the championship by half a point in 2012 and lost it by 6 points last year. So those 10 that he's recovered in race 1 may well just prove to be rather fruitful come the end of 2015. Into the Altia Ducati garage now, and Nico Terol. Nico, who finished in 8th place in race 1. Will be looking to go a couple better, of course. This is his first time in the World Superbike paddock, the 2011 125 GP World Champion. Out of the garage, onto the bike. Smooth rider. We're going to be seeing quite a bit more of him come next year. Or come this year, sorry, later in the year. And he exits pit lane. Behind him in race 1 was Alex Lowe's number 22. And Alex, well, such a shame for the 2013 British Superbike champion, who'd been so quick in testing throughout the week and quick and free practice on Friday. It all went sort of Pete Tong, horribly wrong yesterday for Alex Lowe's. And he went wide down at turn 4 on the opening lap, managed to recover to 9th place, but definitely expecting, or will be wanting, a better result here in race 2 so that he can try and kickstart his 2015 campaign. There's Chaz Davis exiting pit lane. His first ever podium in Phillip Island just a few moments ago. Greg, are you with us now?
I am indeed. Pete Tong, horribly wrong. Great poetry there from Steve Dyer, as one of the producers has been calling him Dave over the last few days. But do you know what's the most striking thing, Steve? Walking back across to the commentary box, the sun is not beating down as it has been here the last few days. And that really will be a very significant part, actually, of the race coming up here this afternoon. So as we've already mentioned, the Aprilias will be much stronger, according to Jonathan Ray. There is Leon Haslam making his way around, just missing out on that victory earlier on this afternoon. It was a 12 noon start for race 1, and we're now coming up to 25 past 2 local time. But Jonathan Ray winning that first race then from Haslam and Davis. Torres and van der Mark 4th and 5th. I've just popped into the press centre on my way back from the post-race interviews for World Supersport. Mixed opinion for sure over the van der Mark Sykes incident down here into turn 1. Now, at the time, I certainly didn't think it was too unfair, to be honest. It was hard but fair, was my feeling, with somebody else saying, well, actually, You know what? He was pushed right out wide. That's a very, very quick corner down there. You've got to give somebody racing room. I don't think it was an intentional move for Van der Mark. Even so, I doubt Tom Sykes was too pleased about that one, and we'll find out later on in the afternoon his exact viewpoint. Could it be too costly in the championship? We'll find out, won't we, later in the year. But
yeah, that was the thing is about that move, and like everybody says, I think they're right to say it wasn't malicious, and Michael van der Mark wouldn't have gone into turn one with that in his mind, but at the same time, you start squeezing riders out at those sorts of speeds down into turn one, and things can go horribly wrong. And Tom Sykes, if you watch the replay, was actually very lucky because the front end took a few wobbles. He could have quite easily gone down.
Yeah, indeed, and there was a similar moment without giving too much away. If you haven't joined us until now in the World Supersport race, so watch that one back if you can, if you didn't see that earlier on today. There's the Alpha 4C positioned on the start line, just outside our commentary box window here. Right behind it is an Alpha Giulietta, the safety car fleet, the Alfa Romeo safety car fleet in World Superbike, of course. Yeah,
Greg's let them have the keys to his car just for this one-off session here in Australia. So beautiful motors, those Alphas, and they'll be setting off around this circuit in a moment. But you're right about the weather. I was just saying a moment or two ago, considering the predictions that we had about the weather today, we were expecting almost unbearable conditions, but they're not as bad as yesterday. But like we've spoken to so many people so far, of course, residents of Australia and especially residents of Melbourne, there are often forecasts that you just cannot predict over here in Melbourne. It sort of almost has a four-layered weather system, where you have literally decent weather one minute, and then it's raining the next, and then it's windy, and then it's absolutely blistering. It doesn't seem as though the Australian weather forecast is that easy to predict.
4 seasons in a day is the perfect example, isn't it, really? Here then is the bike at the front of the field. Don't forget, if you're new to World Superbike, the Super Pole session of Saturday does decide the grid for both races. It really does put so much emphasis, doesn't it, on that Super Pole session. And Jonathan Ray then starting on pole position yet again, and here is the 91 of Haslam. Don't forget, all British front row. It's Ray from Davis and Haslam, then it's Van der Mark, Lowe's and Tyrrell. Watch out, of course, for reigning world champion Sylvain Guintoli down there in 9th position, 3rd row of the grid. But nobody's great surprise that the best lap award has been given out to Leon Haslam for his fastest lap. It was quite a long way into that first race, wasn't it? We were talking about perhaps tyre degradation, well, I certainly was at the time, but he certainly didn't seem to suffer that particular issue, and then delivering that fastest lap towards the end of the race and fighting back from a very, very frightening off-track excursion on the exit of the Stoner Corner. Something Leon said to me as well, actually, after those post-race interviews for race one, as we went upstairs to conduct yet more interviews, and that was that I was a little bit worried I was going to rejoin the track and take my teammate Jordy Torres out of action. Thankfully, he got back on in time and managed to avoid his teammate down there at turn 4. So it is 25 past 2 local time now. Now I believe we're going to get some shots now of some rain, would you believe, just to add another variable into the mix, Steve, in the vicinity of the circuit. Look at that on the horizon. You can clearly see there is rain falling. Now that will change everything if that makes its way over the top of the track.
Yeah, and let's not forget that we have flag-to-flag races here in World Superbike as well, so that could cue carnage in World Superbike Race 2. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that as we go around. But yeah, just exactly what we were saying about the weather. From where we're sitting in the commentary box, you can look over towards the Southern Ocean and you would probably lay your house on the fact that we wouldn't have any rain. But over behind us, anything could happen. Here's Chaz Davis then. Chaz, who picked up his 15th World Superbike podium earlier on.
And that's Satsu there, who works in the media centre here at Phillip Island. I was speaking to actually between the sessions. They're very, very busy actually in the media centre here with the first race of the season. She said she was quite nervous, Steve, to be the grid girl for Chaz Davis there, with the whole world watching on the television. So there you go, down there on that front row of the grid. Right in the middle of the front row there. Look at the engines as well at the bottom of the screen. Obviously they're on their first of the 7 in the allocation. That's got nothing to do with the number 7 on the front of Chaz Davis's bike, but they can cycle between those 7 engines in the season. If you have to go on to an 8th, you will be penalised, and we did see a few examples of that last year. Fantastic news really to see that David Salami is here and on the grid, because it was a horrible crash for him at the end of Superpole 2 yesterday. There is that rain on the horizon.
Yeah, that is remarkable. well, there'll be a lot of team managers that will be absolutely praying that that does not come over here. There'll be one or two riders, maybe towards the back end of the grid, that might say, I wouldn't mind that. That might spice things up a little, but the vast majority of riders here will not want any form of moisture on this circuit at Phillip Island here today. Of course, Troy Bayliss is here. Not that you needed reminding. Troy, who comes in to replace Davide Giuliano, who's going to be out for up to 90 days. The question has been asked about whether or not Troy would go on and replace Davide in Chiang, Thailand, etc. But from what we gather, the general sort of feeling is that he won't be allowed to. So, and that's not because of the team.
No, it's the good wife back home, and that is actually what he said as well, isn't it? So you can understand it, can't you? And I think Bayliss is enjoying the outing here. He's got the dirt track as well on the top of the hill. It's just on the outside of what is turn 11, the dirt track up there here at Phillip Island. So he's been constantly toggling between different sets of leathers all weekend long. It's a superbike 1 minute, the dirt track bike the next. It's pretty busy for Troy Bayliss here.
There's Carl Muggeridge just chatting to Alex Lowe's. Carl Muggeridge, the 2004 World Supersport champion, and of course a rider that took part in many World Superbike races himself. Alex looks a little bit more calm and relaxed now after that race one. It didn't go his way, but he's going to have to try and put that behind him. Hopefully they've got that bike sorted, because we've seen throughout the week that he can post some seriously quick lap times. There's Jordy Torres just having a quick chat to David Salom, who still looks a bit sore from that incident yesterday.
See you at Motor Days. My Italian's improving, you know, Steve. I wasn't helped at all there.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, well done, Greg. Well done.
It was the producer again in the headphones, but anyway, I'm not going to lie.
Jordy Torres, 4th place in race 1. He might be a good call for a possible podium in this second race. He's got that first one out of the way, and he did start to challenge those guys in sort of 3/4 stage of the race. But Jordy, a good start to the season nonetheless. There's Nico Terol. Nico on the Altea Ducati, just taken part in his first ever World Superbike race, and like Jordy Torres, this will be the first time that he's lined up for 2 races in a day for quite some time.
Completely different situation. He probably would have been on his way back from the circuit to the airport by now, wouldn't he, if this was still Moto2 last year. Also, such an early start to the season as well for the ex-Grand Prix riders. Of course, MotoGP kicking off in Qatar the week after we're in Thailand with World Superbike. So 4 races would have been completed for the likes of Nico Terol by the time his fellow riders from last year get underway in Qatar later in March.
Yeah, there's 1 or 2 people wondering exactly how Nico Terol would get on this season in World Superbike. It could be, despite the fact that he's still quite young, but it could be a make or break year for Nico Terol in many ways, making the jump and the leap from GP paddocks over here. Here's Tom Sykes then. Tom, frustrated yesterday, as I mentioned, 8th on the grid and 6th in race 1, getting pushed wide in that earlier race. Tom won't mind too much, because the last couple of seasons he's not had brilliant results here at Phillip Island. He's gone on to challenge for the title for the last 3 years. That said, I'm pretty sure that he would much rather not get involved in any of those incidents and try and at least fight for the podium. The last couple of years he's managed a 3rd place in the second race of World Superbikes here at Phillip Island, and it probably won't help the fact that there's another Kawasaki that was on the top step of the podium. And by the way, I didn't mention it earlier, but it was Kawasaki's first ever win here at Phillip Island since Anthony Gobert in 1996, so it's been a long time coming.
Certainly has, and the disappointing thing for Sykes as well is that he had fought back up into 4th position from 8th on the grid when that incident happened with Vandermark down at turn 1 in race 1 earlier on. There is Matteo Baiocco then with Altea Racing, teammate to Nico Terol, who we were watching just a few moments ago, knows this bike really like the back of his hand, having tested it several times over the last few years. Let's see what he can do then as he makes his way through from 10th on the grid. He heads up that 4th row of the grid, and a great year for him last year.
Yeah, he was the World Superbike champion, of course, Sylvain Guintoli, and in race 1 earlier he managed a 7th place. Of course, he had a big crash, for those of you that don't already know, in testing in Jerez. He landed flat on his face And he got here and he didn't do many laps. He had another couple of crashes at the start of the week when we first got here. He was a little concerned as to whether he'd ride at all because he was in such pain with his neck. And he's started to get used to that Honda. He's had a couple of spills here, but nothing that's troubled him too much. That might well be a work in progress for Sylvain Guintoli throughout the year. There's another Frenchman that's a bit battered and bruised at the moment, Randy de Pounier.
Yeah, there was a massive crash for him in high siding in testing earlier in the week. Paul Denning off to the right-hand side there, overseeing the whole operation. But de Pounier said it flew 3-4 metres clearly off the ground, off the bike, into the air. Came down very, very hard and needed a huge bruise to his lower back. He's not even able to sleep or sit down properly. He has to sleep face down. And really not the easiest of times then for Randy de Pounier. He's coming off that fourth row of the grid in 11th position. Wasn't the best of starts either, was it, to race one earlier on, dropping down in the second half of the race to 17th position. So still looking then for his first Superbike points.
The Alfa Romeo 4C sets off on its lap, which means that there's 5 minutes to go until the start of World Superbike Race 2. If we get anything anywhere near as close and as exciting as Race 1, we'll be very happy commentators indeed. That was spectacular. Here is Leon Camier, who of course has just witnessed his two teammates effectively, the World Supersport riders Jules Cluzel and Lorenzo Zanetti, celebrating in the MV Augusta garage, and he got a 10th place in Race 1, which all things considered is pretty good for the MV rider, who's obviously involved in a development year with this squad following their first season with Corti last year.
Yeah, we mentioned this earlier on, but Corti, in Camier's opinion, went completely the wrong way with electronics. So he really is starting all over again. Now, all relating to engine mapping and the closing off of the throttle bodies and all that sort of thing, applying the power again. And he said, sometimes I'm trying to slow the bike down, and with the way things are programmed, it's actually shooting me off straight down into the corner.
Now, there's a few celebrities going on here. There's Troy Bayliss, of course, 3-time World Superbike champion. He's back. Just on the right in the background there with the shades on there, the grey and black hat. That's Jason Crump, 3-time World Speedway champion. So quite a number of folk down there in support. In fact, in terms of Australian motorcycle sportsmen, there's Jason Crump, Corsa, Mugridge and Vermeulen all hovering around this weekend, of course.
Interesting to see from that graphic as well that Bayliss is on his second engine. He did have a crash though, of course, earlier on in the weekend at Lukey Heights. That was yesterday morning. Sylvain Barry then, what can he do with the BMW down there? 16th on the grid, so he's heading up that, but has actually moved up a spot now, hasn't he, to 15th because of the non-start of Nicolo Canepa.
Yeah, that's the new BMW for this year that Sylvain's got. Sylvain is an immensely talented rider. He's got a couple of Superstock 1000 trophies under his belt. He's not that experienced around Phillip Island, but I would say that he'll be a little underwhelmed with his first race performance so far. We'll see more of Sylvain, I think, as the season goes on, certainly at some of the European circuits, because he's an undoubted talent. And here's another rider that everyone's tipping for the future as well, Roman Ramos, a winner of the FIM CV Repsol Moto 2 Championship in 2013. Now, if you've not seen any of the FIM CEV Repsol Moto 2s, then you won't know how competitive it is, but that's a pretty decent achievement from Roman. Of course, in his first year, brand new team for World Superbikes as well, Go 11 Kawasaki, so keep an eye on the number 40 Ramos throughout 2015.
So 2 minutes to go then until the warm-up lap gets underway. Just looking across there, the Basque Coast in the background, that's the Southern Ocean, and Antarctica somewhere over there. It's a huge piece of ocean though. The Smith's Beach just around the cove underneath where would the bottom of the picture would be there. And we are all set for this second race of the day. What a great start to the season it was earlier on. It couldn't really have got much closer, could it? 39 thousandths of a second between Jonathan Rea, who won the race, and Haslam in second place. Great recovery for Haslam, and as we've said, Rea is expecting the Aprilias to go a lot quicker in this second race. So we are all set then for this second race for round one. There's your front row, Haslam, Davis in the middle of it, and then race one winner Jonathan Rea on pole once again. It is round one of the 2015 NEFIM Superbike World Championship. We're into race two now. A fascinating start to the season earlier on this morning with Jonathan Rea prevailing just ahead of Haslam from pole position. There's your starting grid, then exactly the same grid. It's Rea, Davis, Haslam in that all-British row one. Van der Mark, reigning World Supersport champion, starts fourth from Alex Lowe, looking for a more positive outing this time. Then it's Nico Tirol, Superbike debut today. Same goes for his former Moto2 teammate Jordy Torres. He's joined by Tom Sykes. And then another former world champion, the reigning world champion, Sylvain Guintoli there, 9th on the grid. Further back then, look for the likes of Pounier. Can he come through again? Finished in the top 10. He'll start 13th on the grid. And then others looking for their first points of the season. The likes of Barragan and Pegram coming from the back of row 6. Moving right through then to 21st on the grid. Leandro Mercado will complete the grid. He fought right through from a penalty yesterday from the back of the grid to 12th in race 1. Don't forget, everybody from 15th downwards has moved up a spot because Nicolo Canepa is injured after crashing the EBR at turn 2 in the opening race.
There's an interesting stat at the top of your screen. Since 1990, courtesy of that first World Superbike race that we just saw, that was 50 races up here in World Superbike at Phillip Island. So a 25-year celebration and 50 races are up. So lots to celebrate here in Australia. And that race, Greg, what a race that was to start the season off with.
Could not have been much better than that, could it? Troy Bayliss starting 12th on the grid. What can he do from there, Steve? Last time then we saw him fighting up, dropped down, didn't he, to 13th position in the end. You'd expect more though, wouldn't you, from Troy Bayliss in this particular encounter? The sun is not beating down as we expected it to. How's that going to affect things as they make their way around the warm-up lap? Bad news though for Jeff Metcher, the Australian wildcard. He's been demoted for some currently unknown reason to the back row of the grid.
Yeah, when we get confirmation as to why that is, we'll let you know. Most fastest laps at the top of your screen, you can see some of the stats there. Aaron Slight, of course, 8 of those. Most manufacturer fastest laps, Ducati have reigned supreme so many times here. Chaz Davies looking to get the Panigale Ducati era off to a bang and try and get their first win. The Aruba Ducati team, of course, without Giuliano, will be watching from pit lane and will be just praying that he gets himself better and fit soon, and we wish him all the best because he was incredibly quick leading into this. But this man here, quite a welcome replacement, I think it's fair to say, in these parts. Many Australian fans coming out to see Troy Bayliss, of course, his first races back since 2008 when he won the World Superbike Championship. Despite the fact that how much success he had in World Superbike, he's not the most experienced rider in terms of World Superbike starts actually out there on the grid. That belongs to Leon Haslam, number 91, who will now take part in his 184th World Superbike race.
Let's just make the most of this as well. Will this be the last time we ever see Troy Bayliss start a World Superbike race? We certainly hope not, but it may well be. So let's enjoy this one, race 2. What a start it was earlier on. Let's expect more of the same, boys.
The 3 Brits on the front row. 3rd place for Leon Haslam, who was 2nd in race 1. Chaz was 3rd. Jonathan Rea on the Kawasaki, looking for his first double here in Australia. We look to the lights at the top left of your screen. As soon as they go out, we're ready, and away we go. And that was a bit of a shaky start there for Jonathan. He just struggled a little bit, but can he recover? Down into turn 1. Leon Haslam's got away well as well, and it is going to be Jonathan Rea who takes the lead ahead of Leon Haslam, and Chaz Davies in 3rd. It looks like, is that Sylvain Guintoli or Van der Mark? It's Van der Mark in 4th place. Haslam's moved up into 2nd. Tom Sykes again from the 2nd row. A good start up ahead of Jordy Torres.
Yes, as clean as ever then. Once again, great stuff from everybody as they make their way down towards the Stoner corner for the first time. Fantastic start for Van der Mark. Look at this though, side by side almost, and Van der Mark all the way around the outside of Chaz Davies' Ducati. Can he make it stick? Under braking for turn 4? No, he cannot.
Go down into turn 4 here. Troy Bayliss trying to go up underneath the Altea Ducati of Biocco. Bayliss was pushed wide down out on the exit of the southern loop, but it is Rea that leads from Leon Haslam. Chaz Davies in 3rd. Michael Van der Mark in 4th place, and then in 5th it is Tom Sykes. So Tom Sykes is going to have another go at Van der Mark here. These two could well be side by side again down the start-finish straight.
And if I'm not mistaken, Alex Lowe was missing, wasn't he, from the middle of the 2nd row of the grid as they got underway. So let's see what's happened to Alex Lowe and the Suzuki. Down to turn 10 then. Rea leads the way. There's Haslam, Davis up the inside. This is a repeat of race 1, isn't it?
Yeah, Alex Lowe's. Well, the bad luck just continues here at Phillip Island. What a disastrous start for the Volcom Crescent Suzuki rider. Not what we wanted to see. Such a talented rider, capable of finishing on the podium. It's just not going to be today. At the front then it is Jonathan Ray as we come round to complete the first lap here at Phillip Island of race 2, and he's got a handsome lead there ahead of Chaz Davies. And then in third it is Leon Haslam, but now here comes Michael van der Mark up the inside. Oh, not quite enough space there. And then Jordy Torres further back trying to make a move on Tom Sykes, but couldn't get it to stick.
And they are side by side though into the southern loop. Sykes is fighting back, and the next target for Sykes will be that man van der Mark. That's the man who, in some people's opinions, had him off the road at turn 1 in the first race this afternoon. Whatever your opinion, the fact of the matter was Sykes went off across the grass and dropped a long way back through the field. Here they are then battling into the Stoner corner. This is Sykes and Torres fighting over 5th.
Just behind them is Sylvain Gintoli, number 1, and then Troy Bayliss. What a group of riders we've got here out front. Jonathan Ray never won a World Superbike Championship or a World Supersport, was runner-up in World Supersport way back a few years ago. In second we've got Chaz Davies, former World Supersport champion. In third, Haslam, former World Superbike runner-up. In fourth, Van der Mark, current World Supersport champion. Then behind him, Sykes, 2013 World Superbike champion. And then we've got Torres, who's a Moto 2 winner. Gintoli, the reigning champion. Bayliss, 3-time champion. And then Tyrrell, a 125cc world champion. Such a good list of riders here, and at the moment it's Jonathan Ray that heads them up ahead of Chaz Davies on the Ducati, then Leon Haslam in third. In fourth place Van der Mark from Sykes, Torres, Gintoli and Bayliss.
Something was going on down the bottom of the hill there at Lukey Heights. Yellow flags were waving. I noticed the Alpha safety car was on the grass as well on the right hand side of the picture. That's why we saw no overtaking then down into the turn 10 hairpin. Not quite sure what's happening over there. Back though around to start another lap. This is lap 3 of 22, and now Davies in a perfect position to attack Jonathan Ray, maybe a little bit further around the lap. And Bayliss, by the way, is hanging on to Sylvain Gintoli in the background. They're fighting over 7th position.
I just wonder whether something happened to Alex Lowe's on the warm-up lap down into maybe turn 10. As soon as we get confirmation of that, we will let you know. But at the moment it's stating that Alex Lowe's has rejoined the circuit. Has he or not? I'm not quite sure on that. We'll find out in a moment.
Well, he's just gone through sector 3 according to the timing screen, but a bit of confusion there for sure. Look at this though at turn 4. Davies, Haslam. Now you've got Van der Mark in there and Tom Sykes as well. Tom Sykes didn't really get a look in, did he, with the leaders early on because of the off-track excursion. He's determined to make up for that this time around.
On board with Leon Haslam at the moment from third place, looking up towards Chaz Davies and Jonathan Ray. Leon will be looking to go one better. He missed out on that race victory by just under a tenth earlier on. 300ths of a second separated Jonathan Ray and Leon Haslam.
Bayliss is using, and there is.
Oh no.
Oh dear, Alex Lowe's. Well, it really couldn't have been a worse day, could it? He was looking so good in testing earlier in the week, and I think the body language sums up the situation clearly. I think you were right, Steve. There was a problem on the warm-up lap. Should have started from 5th on the grid.
Thing is, he just doesn't deserve it. He's been so quick throughout testing. He doesn't deserve that at all. He was certainly in up my list to finish inside the top 4 or 5 in both races here, and possibly even fight for wins. And so that is immensely frustrating for Alex Lowe's and of course for his fans and his team. This is the battle out front though in race 2. It's Jonathan Ray on the Kawasaki that leads, number 65 from Chaz Davies, number 7 in second, 91 Haslam in third. On board with him now, and he's coming under attack from Van der Mark, who's having a superb debut World Superbike couple of races here today.
And look at this, Bayliss has passed Gintoli. Bayliss takes Gintoli in that 7th position at turn 2. Troy Bayliss is on the move here. He's only 1.8 seconds behind the leader, and look at this fight going on at the forefront of the race. Very, very different line.
Haslam has got the inside line there. He's going to have to try and squeeze through. He almost touched Chaz Davies there, but he takes such a tight entry and approach there. Tom Sykes is now closed into the group as well, number 66. You can see him just behind Van der Mark, and then it's Jordy Torres, number 81, before a small gap back to Troy Bayliss.
Look at the back of the shot, the next shot as the camera changes. Look at the line Bayliss uses at the top of Lukey Heights. We might not see it this time. Yeah, look at the back, and look what a different line that is. He's right up on the white line on the inside of the corner there. So clearly knows this place, and what a shot that is. How menacing does that Panigale look over the rear tyre of Jonathan Ray. That is Chaz Davies bearing down on us. He was quite disappointed not to really challenge right at the end of that first race, and he's desperate to get ahead. Look out in the background as well if we're getting any spots of rain. We do know there is rain around the area of the circuit, but not on the actual circuit itself, at least at the moment.
Okay, onto the start-finish straight we go, and we're going to complete now 4 laps. It's Ray that leads from Chaz Davies, but for how long? Because here comes Leon Haslam, number 91, looking to find a way through. He's also being challenged by the Honda there of Michael van der Mark. So 4 different bikes in the top 4. Then it's Tom Sykes, 66 on the Kawasaki, and Jordy Torres.
Brilliant debut, you have to say, for Torres, and look at that, straight through, cutting underneath Haslam goes van der Mark at turn 2. That was courageous stuff then from the Dutchman, and the reigning World Supersport champion now goes side by side with Haslam all the way around the outside.
Well, of course, these two guys know each other very well. Leon Haslam was in the Pata Honda team last year, and Haslam says, no, you don't, mate, I'll have that back, thank you very much, and goes back into 3rd place. Van der Mark then pushed back to 4th. Then it's Tom Sykes, who's keeping a wary eye on what's going on here, as van der Mark just ran slightly wide and allows everyone to bunch up. And now look, you're right, it's Troy Bayliss, number 21, and Sylvain Guintoli, a 3-time champ and the reigning champ, closing in on the leading 6.
And the local crowd believe this. Let's hope this goes on for as long as possible with the stamina. That's been a question, of course, for 45-year-old Troy Bayliss, now the oldest rider in this field, down into turn 10 again. So Haslam fending off van der Mark for the time being. What an amazing move that was, though, from Haslam last time around that Stoner corner, all the way around the outside. That's confidence for you.
Can I just remind you that Troy Bayliss is 45. He's not raced since 2008 in this championship, and at the moment he can see the leaders still, and he's very much in this race. On to the start-finish straight once more to complete lap 5. On board with 2013 champion Tom Sykes. It looks like a bit of a gap up towards Michael van der Mark at the moment, but look at how he's closing in on van der Mark into turn 1, and just coming around up the inside now. Here comes van der Mark again, no, in 4th place, he stays there.
And this is where Haslam is strong. It's out of the southern loop and around the following corner, the Stoner corner. This is the end of the 1st sector of the 4 sectors around this 4.5 kilometre lap. Ray, though, once again just keeping out of trouble, isn't he, at the front of the field. There's Sykes. Let's watch for Tom Sykes as well. Look at that. Haslam again out on that wide line. He's attacking Davies for 2nd, but he's too far back, just too far back.
Chaz Davies is just sitting there at the moment monitoring Jonathan Ray, but he did that also in race 1, and I'm not sure if he'll want to risk doing that again here in the 2nd one. Jonathan Ray, so far, well, all of the tactics and pre-race plans have gone out of the window. He mentioned earlier to you, of course, and in the press conference, that he promised his crew chief, Pedro Riba, that he wouldn't lead any of the laps. Well, so far, he's gone against pretty much all of that.
He definitely has. And Bayliss there in that 7th position, so he's only 1.5 behind the leader, over the top of Lukey Heights once again.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out the fastest lap of the top 7 that last time around was Troy Bayliss, at number 21 on the Aruba.it Ducati, and it was a fantastic lap from Bayliss to get himself up inside the top 8. Jonathan Ray it is that leads this one from Chaz Davies and Leon Haslam.
Look at this, it doesn't get much closer, does it? Over the line they go, the 4 of them together, covered by only 0.159, and how's this going to pan out?
Leon Haslam up the inside of Chaz Davies, and these guys are so close you could throw a blanket over the top 4. And in 4th place there, it is still van der Mark, with Sykes closing in. In 5th place now, Jordy Torres just sitting there watching all of this unfold. On board now with Leon Haslam, he's going to try, he's so quick down into turn 4, he's surely going to have a look, Greg.
I hope you're watching, everybody. This is the World Superbike Championship. It doesn't get much better than this. Haslam then and Ray side by side now. Then Haslam goes for the outside line.
Oh, and van der Mark up the inside of Chaz Davies now and pumps the Ducati rider wide. That's going to allow Tom Sykes back into this. And Jordy Torres also. We've got a 6-way battle. I'll get my words out. Pass me my teeth. A 6-way battle for the lead here.
Yeah, Guintoli on his own at the moment. There he is in the background on the white Honda in 7th. Bayliss has dropped into the clutches now of Randy de Pounier. Nico Tiroli still tells. Look at this. The top 6 all locked together, as you say, Steve, at the front of the race. And now it's van der Mark on the charge again. He really is mixing it up with the familiar faces in the top class. And Sykes cutting underneath there. Torres is on the inside of Sykes. Oh, it's getting too close for comfort down there. Davies doing a very good job not to run into the back of Michael van der Mark.
I think Troy Bayliss made a mistake, hence why he's gone back. His last lap wasn't quite there, and so he's lost ground to Sylvain Guintoli, and Randy de Pounier now closes in on him. But here we are then on lap 7 of 22 in race 2 of World Superbike first round here in Phillip Island. Onto the start-finish straight we go, and look at these guys. Jonathan Ray leads, and here comes Leon Haslam. There's nothing to split them as they go across the line, and there was 600ths of a second between 3 of them, and Ray's gone from 1st to 3rd. It is Haslam that leads from van der Mark. I'll tell you what, if Van der Mark leads in his first ever World Superbike weekend, the Pata Honda man is absolutely flying and takes the lead here ahead of Leon Haslam.
Well, no World Supersport champion has ever won the World Superbike Championship. Michael van der Mark looking to do something about that over the next few years. For now, then leading in only his second race in the top class. Remarkable stuff. Haslam will fight back. Now then, this is danger zone for Jonathan Rea. You've got Rea on the outside line there, almost hung out to dry. How's this going to pan out? Rea for now then, still holding that third place.
I wonder what Jonathan Rea thinks about his old bike actually going past him. He's moved to Kawasaki and he's yet to have seen the Pata Honda, and now he knows what it looks like again. That was his bike that Michael van der Mark is on now, and so he's in third place. So van der Mark leads World Superbike Race 2 from Leon Haslam. It's Jonathan Rea third, Chaz Davies on the Ducati in fourth place. Then Tom Sykes, Jordy Torres and Sylvain Guintoli, who's starting to close in on this pack.
And here comes Davies. He's very, very strong, isn't he? Under brakes for the turn 10 hairpin, and he is ahead of Jonathan Rea. Now, Rea said to us, as you said earlier on, Steve, I don't really want to lead from the front. He did end up doing that for pretty much all of race 1, but he's not happening in race 2. He does need to keep up, though, with this group at the front. But let's just repeat ourselves. Michael van der Mark leads here.
This is unbelievable racing in Phillip Island. We're now about to complete lap 8 on board with 2013 champion Tom Sykes. There were one or two journalists in print last year that said that the World Superbike Championship wasn't entertaining enough. Clear off. That's all I've got to say about that. Van der Mark is leading this race in second. It is Leon Haslam in third, Chaz Davies in fourth, Jonathan Rea, and then his teammate for this year, Tom Sykes. And Jordy Torres is trying to make a move past. He doesn't want to see the leaders clear off.
It doesn't indeed. Look at this, Torres then right up with Sykes. Torres really mixing it with these world champions at the front. He's on the inside line, Guintoli just behind them. What can Sylvain Guintoli do? He sat there and rather quiet, it has to be said. 7th position. Don't forget, he did win this second race here at Phillip Island 12 months ago. It's his teammate though at the front of the field at the moment. And in race 1 we were mentioning the advantage van der Mark's had over Guintoli this weekend has been the mid-corner speed he's able to carry. Race a little bit earlier. Did you see the wobble though on the front end there at the top of Lukey Heights? Or he's coming down past the hay shed, wasn't it?
He's one of the most intelligent young riders to ever come through any championship. And the thing is that really, should we be that surprised at what he's doing as we go down into turn 10? You look at his record. The 22-year-old Dutchman was the 2012 European Stock 600 champion. He was a 2013 and 2014 Suzuka 8-hour champion. He was a 2014 World Supersport champion. He's an incredible young man, and he learns so quickly. He doesn't do it overnight. He just takes little chunks out. And look at him. He's leading this World Superbike Race 2. We're now complete lap 9, and he's got 0.3 of a second lead over Leon Haslam, with Davies third, then Rea. Torres is now up to 5th, up ahead of Tom Sykes there.
Jonathan Rea getting very, very close indeed to the rear wheel of Chaz Davies into turn 1 that time, but just sitting in behind him, right behind him, as you say. Torres now then ahead of Sykes. Look for the Aprilia. No, Sykes is back in front of him again, so they just keep changing positions all the time. There is Jordy Torres. I must say, what a debut it is for the Spaniard in the car. Certainly the best of the Grand Prix riders moving into World Superbike this season. Now then, what's going to happen into turn 4 this time? Rea and Davies. Davies holding that third place.
You can see there Tom Sykes just weighing things up in 5th place. We mentioned before, it's not a circuit that he traditionally goes that well at. Of course, we have to throw in the curveball of Chang circuit coming up next month. No one knows who's going to go well there. It's a brand new circuit. No one's even raced there yet. And so these guys want to get as many points on the board as possible.
Troy Bayliss in the meantime has dropped down now. He's behind Nika Tyrrell, behind Randy de Pounier. De Pounier's 8th, Tyrrell 9th, Bayliss down there in 10th position, some 5 or so seconds behind this leading group at the front of the race. So let's just hope Troy Bayliss can keep that top 10 position before the end of this race. Bayako's still 11th, then it's Camia. Good day for Leon Camia. Ramos is 13th from Mercado, again fighting up from the back of the grid. Sylvain Barrier on target for that final point for the time being.
If the checkered flag were to go out now, Haslam would be your championship leader, 2 ahead of Rea, who then would be in turn 2 ahead of Van der Mark, who would then be in turn 4 ahead of Davies. And their championship positions, I'm not sure many people would have predicted. The Pata Honda squad here are absolutely over the moon with Michael van der Mark. My, what a debut this is for the Pata Honda rider. We wondered whether the new rules would work for Honda, but it certainly seems to be going all right so far.
Yeah, whatever happens from now on, It has been an amazing debut for Michael van der Mark. What about this battle? And this is not really familiar territory for Tom Sykes. Stuck down there in 5th position with Jordy Torres attacking. Torres carrying a lot of corner speed here around the left-hand return. 3, look at the corner speed he was carrying. Can he stuff it up the inside?
Oh, I thought Jordy Torres there was going to have a launch up the inside down into turn 4. Meanwhile, in the background, Bayliss and that looks like Biocco are having a decent... Oh, it's Pounier, isn't it? Having a decent battle further back.
Yes, indeed, that's the fight for, what is that, 7th place then? 8th position for Pounier and Nico Terol. They know each other, of course, from the Grand Prix scene. Haven't really raced against each other over the last few years, but they are absolutely banging the castanets together there. And Bayliss, as we say, is still in that 10th position. 19 still running in the race. Imratov is last of the remaining runners. As we know, Metcher is out. That's Jed Metcher, the wildcard Australian, and Alex Lowe's, poor old Alex Lowe's.
Oh, Sylvain Gintoli runs wide down into turn 10 there. And the thing is for Ginters at the moment, is in 7th place, and he's seeing this battle up ahead of him, thinking, I want to be a part of it, I want to be a part of it. And he's just pushing a little too hard there, just struggling to acclimatise to life on that Honda after moving, of course, from the V4 of the Aprilia.
Just simmering, isn't it, Steve? You just get the feeling this is the volcano, and before you know it, we will have an eruption. It's just calmed down a little bit at the moment, but the tyre factor not going to be quite such an influence as we thought it might be. In the background, you got side by side there for Torres and Tom Sykes. Sykesy then for now ahead of the Spaniard.
Flames popping out of the rear of the Kawasaki ZX-10 of Tom Sykes, with Jordy Torres, the Catalan, in his first full season of World Superbikes, his first ever round. And he must be enjoying himself immensely here as we go down into turn 4 and Sykes blocks the path. It's still van der Mark, number 60, that leads on the Pata Honda from number 91, Leon Haslam, who, just like Jonathan Ray, was on that Pata Honda bike last year. Number 7 there, Chaz Davies, still in 3rd place. Of all of the riders in the top 4, perhaps the man that's keeping himself out of the trouble the most is Chaz Davies.
You'd have to say that was the same situation in race 1 as well. Didn't quite work out that time because Haslam and Ray got away from him, and Davies, of course, finished in 3rd position. And what was it? Well, it was only half a second behind. He was hardly that far behind, but it wasn't quite close enough to win that first race. Look at that. Oh, very close in the back, and that was Gintoli, wasn't it?
The thing is, in this situation, as we're on lap 12 of 22, I think every single rider in this field at the moment knows that none of them could actually go out and probably clear off at this point. It's just about who wants to be the guinea pig, and I think that Leon Haslam, Chaz Davies and probably Jonathan Ray are more than happy to let Michael van der Mark lead.
Slightly unfamiliar territory though for everybody. What will van der Mark do? They know what happened in the first race. You can absolutely bet your bottom dollar that they did check the replay, and look at this now.
Oh, Jonathan Ray, what a move.
Brilliant stuff. Chaz Davies demoted to 4th place. He'll fight back though. They're keeping up, and look in the background side by side. That's Sykes and Torres fighting over that 5th position. Sykes though cannot afford to drop too far behind this pack.
Here we are then on board with Jonathan Ray now as we exit the southern loop. He'll climb up into 4th and 5th gear and then around Stoner Corner, turn 3, before braking down to 1st gear on that Kawasaki, 70 kilometers an hour, and there's a change for the lead as Leon Haslam, so quick in this first sector here at Phillip Island, takes the lead of the race and gets past Dutchman Michael van der Mark.
Yes, Haslam had to respond because Ray's just put in his personal best lap of the race, and we all remember what happened in the first race earlier on today. Haslam's got to try and get away now while Ray deals with van der Mark in that battle for 2nd place. There's Davies still very much hanging up there with the, keeping up I should say, with the top pack now. Then how's this going to fan them out through? Ray has passed van der Mark already up the top of Lukey Heights. That was a very, very confident move indeed for the Kawasaki rider. Now we can size up Haslam. Here comes Davies again, very, very late on the brakes, and Davies takes van der Mark. Poor old Michael van der Mark, 1st down to 4th in 1 lap.
Yeah, well, van der Mark can regroup. He's used to life in World Supersport, so more often than not, he's had to get the old gloves off and fight this one out. As it is, this is a different situation for him in World Superbike. Now we have the same 3 that were fighting for the win in race 1. Honda team still happy there. Of course, van der Mark's still in the frame. These 4 starting to break away, and in the background there, Jordy Torres has gone past Tom Sykes into turn 1. Now, can the Aprilia rider close on this group and make his way into the top 4?
Just imagine how much van der Mark is learning as he follows riders like Haslam, Ray and Davies, all on different bikes as well, so able to compare a lot as they make their way out of turn 3. It is as close as you like here. Haslam a little bit of a buffer, but nowhere near enough, and we're only just really past the halfway point. This is lap 14 of 22. Look how strong Chaz Davies is under brakes. It doesn't matter whether it's the turn 4 hairpin or the turn 10 downhill hairpin. Chaz Davies extremely strong when it comes to braking.
Yeah, well, Van der Mark does want to learn as much as possible in 4th place, but at the same time, ironically, he wants to get past them all.
He does.
We are in the middle of the Australian summer, so school's out for summer for Michael Van der Mark. He wants to get past these guys and try and get himself that first World Superbike podium.
What's happening further back than Troy Bayliss has lost another place, I'm afraid, down to 10th behind, down to 11th, I should say, behind Matteo Baiocco, who takes that 10th place now. Then Davies again, third of the 4 bikes here, very late on the brakes. But further back, it is Baiocco 10th from Bayliss. Ramos, Pounier is 11th, Mercado 14th. I'll get there in the end, Steve. Pounier 13th, Mercado 14th, Barrier in 15th place.
Just for confirmation as well, 2 riders out of this race. Alex Lowe's, sadly mechanical problems, he's pulled into pit lane, and Jed Metcher as well, number 77, the wildcard Aussie. What a great camera view that is of the riders coming down this start-finish straight out of turn 12. It's Haslam that leads this one, looking to go one better. He just lost out to the man in second in race 1. Chaz Davies still there in third, and Van der Mark in 4th. And I tell you what, pat on the back to the guys that came up with these rules. There are 4 different manufacturers, all within about 1/10 of a second of each other here.
Are the rules going to bring the field closer together? I think they jolly well are.
Just a bit, they said. Unbelievable. On lap 15 here of 22, down into turn 4. Wide entry there for Van der Mark. You can take a couple of different lines into turn 4, and this is Troy Bayliss. This is interesting. Number 21 is coming in. They're actually practicing their technique. This is flag-to-flag racing, of course. You can come in and make pit changes. Tyres must be ruined unless they've decided between themselves to give this a good practice. Bayliss there taking on some water as well, so he's helping out the Ducati team in terms of preparation, because they may well be the only team that get to try that. If it does maybe sprinkle with rain later in this or further down the line in future World Superbike races.
Incidentally, Ben Spies has been on Twitter between the 2 races saying, come on Troy, let Ducati get a 3rd bike out there for you for the next races in Thailand. Don't forget, keep it with all the latest as well with at WorldSBK, the official Twitter and Facebook feed for the World Superbike Championship. So it's Haslam from Ray, Davies, Van der Mark, Torres, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is interesting. Bayliss is rejoining the race. The leaders aren't too far behind Troy. They're just coming down into turn 1 now.
Well, he will move straight out of the way. He won't want to get involved in this. And speaking of ex-world champions that could cut the mustard in World Superbikes, I'd love to see Ben Spies getting his leathers back on and coming back into this paddock. So if you're listening, Ben, how about it? Laguna Seca, we'll see you there. Here we go then, on lap 16 of 22. Number 91 it is, Leon Haslam on the Red Devils Roma Aprilia that leads from number 65, Jonathan Ray, who's looking for the double win. In 3rd place, Chaz Davies, until earlier this morning, had never got a podium at Phillip Island. Then it's Van der Mark on his World Superbike debut. Then Jordy Torres in his World Superbike debut. And then in 6th place, the 2013 champion, and not a particular fan of this circuit layout, Tom Sykes.
Gintoli still down there in 7th position. It's not a great start to the season then for the reigning world champion. A rather distant 7th, it has to be said. A rather lonely 7th as well, because Tiroli still 8th from Pounier. And then Baiocco. So there is the Aprilia of Jordy Torres. How on earth is this going to pan out? Haslam, he's learned from the first race that he needs to not be too close actually to Jonathan Ray when they come out of the final corner. He said I actually got too close to him at the end of the first race and had to get out of the throttle. He'll try and perhaps do things differently if Haslam finds himself second coming out of this 12th and final corner in, what, 6 laps time.
Superb action from the World Superbike Championship, and these guys really have learned just from race 1. They're not getting themselves involved in too much. The less people involved in the race-winning battle, the more chance you have of winning, of course. But Jonathan Ray has said enough is enough, and here he goes, having a look up the inside. No, it doesn't work out. Leon Haslam so late on the brakes as they go round the back to turn 1. Here comes Ray, though, having a look again, and Chaz Davies there. Does Jonathan even know that Chaz is just sitting right on his shoulder?
Wow, that was so close, wasn't it, down into turn 1. Everybody was thinking about diving at the inside, but sensibly thought better of it. Now look what's happening. Van der Mark and Torres have caught the 3 at the front. That gap has almost evaporated. In fact, it has evaporated. Van der Mark on the Honda right in there in that battle going on for second, third, fourth.
Jordy Torres has gone straight on there and he's outbraked himself. He has rejoined, but behind Tom Sykes, and there was a bit of a wobble moment there for number 81, Jordy Torres, who is regrouping now, but that means that Sykes is up into 5th.
Good save from Torres, kept his head there, still running along in 6th place. Watch for the Aprilia then at the bottom of your picture. There's Sykes, you're going to see Torres appearing. Oh, there he goes, just disappearing out wide and sensibly looking to the right-hand side, making sure nobody's there as he rejoins. Now then, there's Bayliss. They're at the back of the field. It's the back markers and they're coming up to lap them. They need to be very careful. You wouldn't imagine Troy Bayliss will get in the way. They'll see the blue flags, of course. Yeah,
they'll see the blue flags and they'll be able to move by. The only problem is this is the most awkward part of the circuit to do it, and Toth moves straight out of the way up on the inside line. Bayliss is going to have to be a bit careful, like you say, though, as we come round now to complete lap 17 of 22. It's still Haslam on the Aprilia that leads this one, and the Aprilia team now starting to get warmed up. 5 laps remaining. I think we're going to have a ding-dong here at the end.
I certainly think we are. Only 0.6 of a second then between the top 4. 1.5 separate.
Oh, Torres has gone down, and that's such a shame for him on his World Superbike debut. He's had a few moments in this race, and I think he might be okay, but that's just frustration. He's looking around there, and Jordy Torres down at turn 1. It's one of the fastest parts of the circuit. He's limping, I think, still from a crash that he had actually at turn 11 earlier in the weekend. It's not the first time he's gone down, and he's looking up to the skies. He's just gone in way too hot there. It can happen, and of course, let's not forget tyre wear involved in that as well.
Yeah, it's lost the front end. We're looking back, then we're on board with Torres. There's Tom Sykes, and he was lucky not to get wiped out of the race as well.
Yeah, he's carrying way too much. He'd gone past Tom Sykes, and of course, when you get the slipstream into turn 1, it means you're carrying a lot more speed than you probably expect going into turn 1. And sadly for Jordy Torres, his second race here in World Superbike has come to an end.
So Bayliss, that was disappearing out of the shot. Here's your leaders then as we come through to start what will be lap 19. We'll have only 4 to go. It is Haslam from Ray. Then you've got Davis, Van der Mark still there. And in the back of the picture, Tom Sykes in 5th position with Torres out of action. Everybody else obviously moving up. So Gintoli goes 6th from Tyrol to Pounier, Bayoko, Leon Camier for the second race in a row, running inside the top 10.
Across the line we go to complete lap 17. To complete lap 18 of 22. And it is Leon Haslam that has the advantage from Jonathan Ray, Chaz Davis and Michael van der Mark slightly wide into turn 1 there for Jonathan Ray. And there are yellow flags still out there waving. Green flag then just at the middle of turn 2. The southern loop means that you are free to then overtake again if you dare, as they head around now to... Well, it's known as the southern loop on the exit there, up to 4th and 5th gear, and then round Stoner corner down into turn 4.
Yeah, sensible stuff by Ray, wasn't it, at turn 1? Took that wide line, carried more speed through the corner, knowing he couldn't be attacked from behind at that particular turn 2.
Oh, lovely move there. Caught Leon Haslam napping completely, and Haslam might just lose out on second as well. Haslam has gone from 1st to 3rd in a matter of seconds. He's trying to fight back as they come up towards Lukey Heights any minute now, and that was just out of nowhere, really. Here comes the riders up into Lukey Heights. It is Ray then that leads from Davies and Haslam.
That was candy from the baby, wasn't it, for Jonathan Ray that time? And Haslam certainly does not want a repeat of the first race earlier on when he just missed out to Jonathan Ray. Look how close Davis gets. Can Davis do anything about Ray this time? By the way, Jordy Torres, we're getting a message up on the screen here, has been escorted off to the medical centre after that crash at turn 1. Hopefully that's just precautionary.
Yeah, well, it looked like he'd maybe ripped through the levers on the backside area, so it may be a few issues there, but he is up and he's walking away. But Jonathan Ray cannot shake off the advances of Chaz Davis, and Chaz now leads on the Ducati. I was going to say that he'd been on his shoulder like a parrot on a pirate's shoulder for the entire race. He'd just been sitting there, but now he's shown his cards, and Chaz Davis on the Ducati. Look at the front end chatter there, though. Oh, heart in mouth moment for Chaz Davis. That front could have easily washed out, and they're really pushing it here now on lap 20 of 22.
3 laps to go, 3 contenders for victory.
And Van der Mark has gone down, and that's such a shame. Magic Mike has gone down over at turn 10, down at the bottom just after Lukey Heights, and he'll be absolutely gutted. But as you said earlier, and rightly so, what a debut this has been for Van der Mark.
And look at this, Chaz Davis is now in the lead of the race as we come around to start the penultimate lap here, and Phillip Island. But yes, indeed, terrible shame indeed there for the likes of Torres and Van der Mark, both rookies in World Superbike this year, both out of the race. Now then, Ray will fight back. 3 to go, three contenders, because Sykes has lost a lot of time. He's 3.4 seconds behind. Really did lose a lot of time, didn't he, when Torres crashed in front of Tom Sykes.
Chaz Davies is now fastly approaching Troy Bayliss as they come up to stick a lap on Troy. So Troy moves out of the way as the three leaders come through. It's Davies leading on the Aruba Ducati, up ahead of Jonathan Rea on the Kawasaki and Leon Haslam. It's the three amigos once more. These three battled it out for the race win earlier on. They're doing it again here. Onto the start-finish straight we come to start the penultimate lap of the race. No, sorry, 2 laps. Yes, it is 2 laps remaining. I am right.
It certainly is. Place your bets as to who's going to be in the lead. Haslam flying through to take the lead from third place. So it's Davis on the right-hand side now, the left. And which way is this going to go? It's Haslam, Ray in the middle. Ray's going to cut underneath him, or is he? Oh, he's having to set himself up there slightly.
Oh, there's not enough room there, surely. Chaz Davies trying to get his name in the act once more on that Aruba Ducati, but this is the section of the circuit, remember, that Haslam is so quick. He's going to try and put some air between himself, Jonathan Rea and Chaz Davies. Now, all of these guys desperate for different reasons to win this one. Haslam would be his first win since 2010. Johnny Rea wants the double here in Phillip Island, and Chaz Davies, of course, who's never had decent results here, would love to win. It would be the first win on the Panigale and the first win for Ducati since 2012.
And that, of course, is something they need to bear in mind as well, not least Jonathan Rea and Haslam. Davies as well for that matter, but particularly Jonathan Rea having won that first race, the championship situation. He would be the championship leader if things stay like this. We will have only 1 lap to go in the next come round. 4.4 kilometres, 2.7 miles off Phillip Island. Now we know Davies is very strong in the braking. This time not attempting any lurid dive up the inside.
Sylvain Guintoli, the reigning world champion, is in 5th place behind Tom Sykes. Tyrrell in 6th, to Pounier 7th. At the moment we're going to have to leave the rest of the pack there because we're about to start the final lap of the race, and it's going to be any one of these three, just like it was in race 1. Here we go then. Cue the riot. It is Leon Haslam that has the advantage as they go across the line from Jonathan Rea. Chaz Davies will want to be a bit closer than that into turn 1.
So Rea is going to try and just take Haslam. Haslam needs to try and learn from what happened last time in the earlier race this afternoon. So into the southern loop. We know Haslam is extremely quick. So much corner speed through turn 3. First of all, they've got to get themselves out of this second corner. And Chaz Davies is the one who's so strong under braking. What sort of drive then will that green Kawasaki get out of turn 2?
You just do not want to be in 3rd place at this moment in time because you want to have a launch at the race win overall. But unfortunately for Chaz, that's where he is, and he's going to have to try and get some decent drive out of turn 4. At the moment there's no change. It's Haslam, it's Rea and it's Chaz Davies. 3 different manufacturers all trying to get this second race win here in Phillip Island.
Out of Siberia then, this may well come down to the hairpin at the bottom. Let's see how much speed they carry up the top here. Just shut the throttle off and reopen it as you get up past the hay shed to the top of Lucky Heights. Look at the speed Rea's carrying through there.
Oh, look, he's unbelievable, Jonathan Rea. A textbook move there for the Kawasaki rider. And can Leon Haslam bite back down into turn 10? No, Rea takes the tight line. It's clever from Haslam. He knew he was going to do it. So now it's going to be once more, just like it was in race 1, a race to the line. Who's going to be first across the line here for race 2? Jonathan Rea at the moment has it from Haslam and Chaz Davies. Haslam's going to have to get in the slipstream. I'm not sure if he's going to have enough here to do it. Let's find out. Across the line we go. Haslam's got the slipstream. Across the line. It's going to be close. It's going to be Haslam. And he wins his first race since 2010. And I will guarantee you there will be tears of joy down in Aprilia because that has been a long time coming. And it was 1/100th of a second between Haslam and Rea on the line. 2/10 covering the top 3.
He executed the manoeuvre perfectly. He said he got too close to the back of Johnny Rea in the first race and had to get out of the throttle. That time, just perfect out of that last corner, dived out to the side at the very last moment. 1/100th of a second.
That is incredible, and it's almost a carbon copy of his race win that he picked up in 2010, his very first win. Memories come flooding back for him. Chaz Davies takes 3rd. I can guarantee you now, Greg, that when you speak to Chaz, he will be frustrated because he's been in a couple of positions there. It's not quite worked out for him on this occasion, but he can take heart from the fact that he's picked up 2 podiums here. As it is though, it's this time Leon Haslam's turn to win the race. It means we're going to have a very close championship indeed going into Chang Circuit because Leon and Jonathan Rea will both be sharing 45 points, but This is incredible. There were folk that were saying this man was completely dried up and that he could not get himself anywhere near the podium again. And my, has he proved some people wrong. Red Devils, Ramos and Aprilia, in fairness to them, they trusted Leon Haslam. He's trusted himself because he's always believed he could do this. And of course his family, Ollie, his mum and dad, Ron and Anne, and of course his kids, Max and Ava, that travel around the world with him and have believed in him from day one. And now here he is. He's just missed out on the win in race 1, but he's back to winning ways again. His first win in 5 years. And this is spectacular for him. 100th of a second ahead of Jonathan Ray. And fair play to Jonathan, who just missed out on that. It's going to be such an amazing championship. Chaz Davis there and Troy Bayliss just shaking hands. And Troy, that may well be the last time you see Troy on a Ducati, so breathe it in, folks. Troy, thanks for coming back. It's been absolutely magical, and of course you've made a lot of fans here in Australia very happy indeed. Jonathan, very happy. High fives to Pereira. Sometimes you can't win those sorts of races, but this is going to be very emotional. I'm not sure Leon will quite believe it. This is just fantastic. I've almost got a lump in my throat because I know how much this means. These two guys, good friends off circuit. What a race that was. Absolutely incredible stuff. We said in the paddock, pretty much everyone in the media centre, everyone that's been speaking in the week building up to this has been saying that Leon Haslam looks fitter, he looks leaner, he looks meaner, he looks happy in the paddock. This could be his year, and that is incredible stuff. Chaz Davis there, thumbs up. It will be a slight shrug of the shoulders because he'll feel that he's really been hard done by there, and he has, because he was only 2/10 off the win. But he's walking away here with 2 third places. By the way, it was 4th for Sykes, 5th for Gintoli, 6th for Tyrrell, then to Pounier, Camia, Biocco and Ramos. A good top 10 finish there for Ramos. What a win, though, for Leon Haslam, who's now going to celebrate with the family. Look, there's Ollie, there's Ron. Absolutely brilliant. Congratulations there from Jonathan's wife Tash as well, and the whole family are down there, as I said. Superb moments for the team. Jonathan Ray now congratulating some of the members of his team. Unfortunately, at the moment, Ava's crying, but probably tears of joy down in Parc Ferme. And this is going to be a great moment when Greg catches up with them. And like Greg said, he did time it to perfection. The key move there was down into turn 10. Leon anticipated that Jonathan would be taking the tight line to defend, and then managed to get the power on just that little bit earlier around turns 11 and 12, which enabled him to get the drive onto the start-finish straight. And look at this. This is how to slipstream. Pulls out at the right moment, just on the line. Look at that. Photo finish stuff there. And poor Chaz will feel like he was miles away, even though it was just 2/10. Incredible stuff. 2 photo finishes for the first 2 World Superbike races of 2015. What a way to kick off this new championship. And this is what it looked like from on board the Aprilia. I wonder if he knew that he'd got it. That's the question. And there's the photo finish for you, just for confirmation. Incredible stuff from the Aprilia and Kawasaki rider, and of course Chaz, because Chaz is a big part of that race. Just didn't quite work out for him here today, but the really important thing from Chaz Davis' perspective is the fact that he's never had good results here before. It's never been a circuit which has worked well, but if it can here, and he's got 2 third place finishes, what does that mean for the rest of the season with Chaz Davis? Do not rule him out of any championship charge. There's Tom Sykes just walking back to the garage, and it's been a weekend of frustration for him, and we'll no doubt get to catch up with Tom and reflect on this race and the first round. Sylvain Gintoli just in the top of the picture there, walking back as well. The Pata Honda rider, the World Superbike champion, actually will end this weekend in 5th place overall in the championship with 20 points, courtesy of the 5th place finish. Confirmation then of the race 2 standings, 100th of a second separating winner Leon Haslam and Kawasaki's Jonathan Ray. Chaz Davies in 3rd, it's 4th for Tom Sykes, 5th for Sylvain Guintoli, the reigning champion, and then it's Tyrol, De Pounier, Camia, Bayoko and Ramos. 4 Brits in the top 4 there. Further down, Mercado, more points for the Argentine on the Panigale in 11th ahead of Barrier, and Santi Barragan getting some points ahead of Larry Pegram. Great result for the EBR rider there. A couple of points for him in 14th, and Christoph Ponson getting his first World Superbike point there in 15th ahead of Bayliss, Toth, and then Van der Mark sadly not finishing. Further back, Lowe's as well, so sad second race for a couple of the rookies. Van der Mark and Torres, but Van der Mark was leading. Let's see if we can catch up with the top 3.
Chaz, another scintillating race there and another 3rd place, a really consistent start to 2015.
Yeah, exactly, a set of 3rd places. I've started much worse in Phillip Island, that's for sure, so I gave it all I had. Tried to get him in, see a wheel, put a wheel around Johnny or Leon in the last couple of laps, but it wasn't to be. Couple of limitations, just keeping me off the back of them to have an attack. So anyway, this is a huge improvement for myself at Phillip Island. Like I said, I've had some bad luck here, and I consider it as one of my weak tracks. So considering everything, I think that we've done a mighty fine job, and the guys, they've worked hard this winter, and I think that it's showing.
Well done, Chaz. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well said, Chaz. And yeah, I think we need to be keeping an eye on that Ducati rider. The statistic of them not winning since 2002, I think, will soon be up. Let's see if we can maybe catch up with second place man now, Jonathan Ray.
Jonathan just won the first race and just missed out on the second race, but a great start, 45 points on the board.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't have shook your hand off if you'd have told me that at the start of the weekend, but I mean, Kawasaki gave me a brilliant bike, and my crew, to be fair to them, they worked tirelessly. When we thought we were in a hole, we dug ourselves out, and to be honest, I didn't see a race win today. The Aprilia were so strong in this track. Also, Leon tried them really well, so happy to come out with 45 points, and it's a good bag to go to Thailand with.
Well done, Jonathan, thanks a lot.
Superb stuff for Jonathan Ray, 45 points for him. He will, as he's just mentioned there, be joint lead of the championship going into Chang Circuit. But now, get yourself ready. It's been 5 years since we've heard from Leon Haslam taking a winner's speech. Over to you, Greg.
Leon, well done. First victory, then finally back on the top step of the podium for 5 years and just missed out in race 1, but you timed it to perfection this time.
Yeah, I definitely got my run better onto the run to the line, but you know, I made another mistake with a missed gear. I did it twice that race, and I didn't feel like I had much in reserve that race. Race 1, I felt I had a little bit left, which helped me catch the guys, but that race I was struggling, a bit more chatter than race 1, but yeah, so happy to finally get on that top step, and big thanks to the team and Aprilia and Red Devil.
Very well done. Now Thailand, of course, in 4 weeks' time. Thanks.
Superb stuff then for Leon Haslam. I believe that's Red Devil's first ever win as well, but it's certainly not Aprilia's. They've got a good record here at Phillip Island, and Leon is back to winning ways. And that reaction there, the lack of emotion, there's a reason for that. You know, this is not a one-off this year. That is a man that is clearly there to try and challenge for this year's World Superbike Championship, and rightly so. I think we're going to have some fights this year to look out for. Let's look at the championship standings then after the first round here in Australia, moving into Thailand. Leon Haslam and Jonathan Ray both on 45 points. Chaz Davies in third, of course, with 32, and then Tom Sykes with 23 points in fourth place. 4 Brits in the top 5. Guintoli, the reigning champion there in fifth, there to Tyrol, Camia, Torres, Bayoko and Van der Mark. Further down, points also for De Pounier, Mercado, Lowe's from race 1. Ramos as well, got some solid points today. The Spanish rider on the Kawasaki. Barrier, Barragan, Bayliss in 17th ahead of Pegram, Metra and Ponson. And now for the manufacturer standings as we head into Thailand. And it's Aprilia and Kawasaki locked on 45 themselves. Ducati 32, and then Honda, Suzuki, MV Agusta 6th ahead of BMW and EBR. So in a moment, riders will be making their way out onto the podium. There's the trophies and the bunches of flowers. The same 3 guys in the room that's just located to the back of the media centre. And these 3 guys are going to be going home with big smiles on their faces. And Jonathan Ray and Chaz Davies, who have never had particularly good results here at Phillip Island, can finally kiss goodbye to that jinx. And they'll come back here next year even stronger, I'm sure. 3rd place then is going to be Aruba Ducati's Chaz Davies, a 28-year-old. In his first season with the same team for 10 years. That's his 16th World Superbike podium. And the first time he started a World Superbike Championship off with 2 podiums. 2nd place for Jonathan Ray, and you can see the delight on his face. Fantastic start to the year for the Northern Irishman. Kawasaki Racing Team, the 28-year-old in his 142nd race. It's his 44th podium, but now, hear the Italian team cheer for Leon Haslam. It's been a long time coming, this one. But the 31-year-old in his 184th race, he's the most experienced rider in the field, has picked up now his 31st podium and his 4th win, his first win since Kyalami in 2010. And he's certainly proved 1 or 2 of the critics wrong. Familiar face there handing out the trophies. Troy Corser, 2-time World Superbike champion. Awards the 3rd place trophy there to Chaz Davies. He knows Leon Haslam well, of course, from his time spent at BMW. 2nd place trophy being awarded there from Troy to Jonathan Ray. And then to his old buddy Leon Haslam as well, and he'll enjoy passing this trophy over. And I'm sure this will be very emotional for the Haslam family down there that, as I mentioned before, follow him around the world and have been committed to him. There you go then, the winner's trophy to Leon Haslam. The race winner here in race 2 in Australia. A bunch of flowers as well. Leon went in for the double European kiss there. We're in Australia. It doesn't happen. But nevertheless, it's a win for him. And of course, the Aprilia team. You know, we spoke to Romano Albiciano here earlier in the weekend, and he said that this was an interesting combination of riders that they've got. They sort of thought outside the box when making their signings this year. Torres has had a very good debut despite tipping off at turn 1 in race 2, and Leon Haslam, well, it's proving to be a valuable signing indeed so far. One more trophy to cap things off, and Troy will award that one as well, the ENI Superbike trophy. It's presented by 2-time World Superbike champion Troy Corser. And now for the national anthem of Great Britain once more for race winner Leon Haslam. And now the Italian national anthem for winning manufacturer Aprilia. it doesn't get any more lively than the Italian national anthem, or more jolly indeed, and the Red Devils Roma team celebrating there. And now for the celebration of the riders. It's a good day to be British. The Brits have completely flooded out the World Superbike top 3 steps in both races. Chaz Davies with a couple of thirds, and Jonathan Rea and Leon Haslam sharing the wins, as these 3 guys will be ones to watch when we head to Thailand in the next month, or just under a month's time in fact, when we'll get out there to get free practice underway. What a way to kick off the 2015 season though. I'm sure you're not going to want to miss any more of this. We had races that have been won by just a 1/10 of a second, and in fact under a 1/10 of a second. Superb scenes, riders that have been waiting a long time to get themselves back on the top step. Anyone's championship this, and do not count out the likes of Gintoli, Sykes, Van der Mark, etc., who this weekend haven't quite been able to make it onto the podium. They, of course, will have their say in the future rounds. But for this weekend, it's been all about these 3 guys, and it will be talked about for the weeks to come as well. In Australia, Chaz Davies has taken 3rd place. 2nd place in race 2 for Jonathan Rea. And Leon Haslam, after 5 years of waiting, is back on the top step with Red Devil Roma Aprilia. And the Best Lap Award goes to Chaz Davies. And Leon Haslam picked up the race 1 Best Lap Award, the Pirelli Best Lap Award. So sharing that one there. 2 riders in 2 races. That's it then from us here in Phillip Island. What a day of racing it has been. Jonathan Rea won race 1, Leon Haslam wins race 2, 45 points apiece going into Chiang in Thailand. You won't want to miss any of the other action. From Gregory Haynes and from myself, Steve Day, thanks for joining us here in Australia. We'll see you in Thailand.